After his controversial appearance this past week during the Netflix premiere episode of Monday Night Raw, WWE reportedly are already holding talks about booking Hulk Hogan as a heel for future appearances. We'll let you know the details on that. Plus, speaking of Raw on Netflix, reportedly the premiere episode has reached the top spot on Netflix in the United States and in the United Kingdom. The Rock appeared during Raw on Netflix and also last night on NXT, but he's reportedly unsure when he will next wrestle for WWE. More details on Chris Charlton being suspended by New Japan Pro Wrestling. We have the ratings for Saturday's edition of AEW Collision. Details on how the Wrestle Dynasty event was reportedly hampered by Warner Brothers Discovery. More developments when it comes to the Vince McMahon lawsuit involving former WWE employee Janelle Grant. Some talent reportedly expected Penta to be a part of the Raw Netflix premiere episode this past Monday. We've also got details as to why Stone Cold Steve Austin was not at the series premiere on Netflix for WWE. We have details on when SmackDown is expected to go back to 2 hours after moving to 3 on the USA Network. Details as to why the Women's World Championship changed hands during Raw's premiere episode on Netflix has also been revealed. Corey Graves makes a surprise return to NXT during last night's New Year's Evil special, and Rob Van Dam provides an update on his status with All Elite Wrestling. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's begin with more details regarding the controversial appearance of WWE Hall of Famer Hulk Hogan during Raw's premiere episode on Netflix this past Monday night. Now, WWE and Hulk Hogan have already held talks about him turning heel for his future appearances on WWE programming, according to a claim from the Daily Mail. Hogan made his first in-person appearance on WWE television in 2 years during the Monday Night Raw premiere on Netflix on January 6th. Hogan and a US flag-waving Jimmy Hart were booed out of the building, though, even as Hogan talked about how fans had always been behind him. Hogan then only received more boos as he promoted his Real American Beer and WWE's new partnership with Netflix. It has already been reported that Hogan believes he was booed because of his politics, and the Daily Mail has claimed Hogan thought he was going to be cheered inside the Intuit Dome on Monday night, and Hogan was initially disappointed by the boos. A source reportedly told the Daily Mail, quote, "Did Hulk think he was going to be cheered, especially bringing out Jimmy Hart, who everyone likes, and who was also waving an American flag at the time? That is a resounding yes. So when he came out, got booed, and then went back after his promo, he was instantly disappointed that the fans turned on him, but he wasn't pissed. Had it not been for him being there to promote his beer, he would have leaned into it a little more, but he just had to get through the promotion of it after all. But after thinking about it, a few good things came out of it. The fact that he was booed, everyone talked about it, and he's been in the wrestling business long enough to know that even a bad reaction goes a long way, because if they aren't cheering you or they aren't booing you, then they don't care at all. This has actually been a great promotion for his beer, and as quickly as he was disappointed, he thought about it a little more and is actually excited by how it turned out. Hulk is a businessman, and he's going to take advantage of the fans' reaction all the way to the bank." It was further claimed by the source that there have been talks about Hogan becoming a heel for his future appearances on WWE television, and plans are in place for him to be a bad guy to assist a wrestler on WWE's roster. Quote, "There has already been discussion that the next time they put Hogan on TV is to make him a heel or a bad guy, because the last time he was a bad guy, it worked wonders for his career," the source told the Daily Mail. They might base it towards what they had to do with The Rock last year. The last few times The Rock came back, they made him a hero, and the fans hated it. The Rock leaned into being bad, they changed direction, and now, after last night, the fans like The Rock again. So by giving the fans what they want, you get what you want, and that is for the adulation. Hogan and some of the writers have already since talked, and whenever Hogan comes back, if he were to be booed, they are going to expect it and lean into it 100%, they continued. Plans are for Hogan to be a bad guy again and help out a future storyline with another wrestler, end quote. Now, Hogan has been a controversial figure since audio of him using racist language several times leaked in 2015. Hogan has been booed on multiple occasions by WWE fans since he returned to the company in 2018, including infamously at 2021's WrestleMania 37. While Hogan reportedly believes that he was booed because of his politics, another Donald Trump supporter in The Undertaker also made a cameo on Netflix premiere of Raw, and the fans loudly cheered for the Hall of Famer. Although he arrived in Los Angeles wearing a MAGA Powers t-shirt, the Daily Mail has further claimed that Hogan is allegedly adamant about not using his affiliation with the president-elect in any WWE storylines. Of course, if we get any more details on this, we'll let you know in a future video. Now, interestingly, Gabriel Fluffy Iglesias, he was in the building, he was on camera for Raw, and he spoke with Rich Eisen on the Rich Eisen show about Hogan being booed. He said, quote, "It was painful watching Hulk Hogan get booed. I was like, wow, from great to hate. That was ugly. At the same time, WWE should have known better." You know that Hulk Hogan has been out there on his political train trying to sell his beer on the Trump train. You take anybody like that and you put them in a blue state in LA, what else was going to happen? That might be the reaction, he said. So Fluffy says he thinks it's politics. Other thinks it because it was his previously used racist language. What are your thoughts about it? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Now, speaking on Raw on Netflix, of course, we won't know the exact numbers, but Raw was ranked as the #1 show on Netflix in the United States, while Squid Game was second. Due to Raw airing on Netflix and the streaming service being very protective over viewership, no information on how many people tuned into Monday Night Raw is currently available. PW Insider noted that the numbers for Raw were great on Netflix, and there was a lot of excitement within WWE and the streaming service about the figures. WWE Raw airs on Netflix around much of the globe, including in the United States and the United Kingdom, as part of a 10-year deal worth $5 billion. All of WWE's weekly programming and premium live events are available on Netflix in the United Kingdom. Now, a bit more on this comes from WrestleNomics, who has said that WWE Raw is listed as Netflix's #1 show in the US today as well as yesterday, according to Flix Patrol. Netflix confirmed to WrestleNomics that WWE programs will be eligible for listing in Netflix's official weekly top 10 rankings, where they break out some global viewing data as well as rank the top 10 programs by region. Now, The Rock, he did appear on the show, but the question is, are we ever going to see the final boss wrestle again for WWE? Well, The Rock made his return to WWE during the premiere of Monday Night Raw on Netflix on January 6th, and the impression following the show was that Dwayne Johnson wasn't planning to have a match at WrestleMania 41. Of course, the original plans for WrestleMania 41 were The Rock to go one-on-one with Cody Rhodes, a match that was set up on the Raw after WrestleMania 40. Any issues between Cody and The Rock were promptly wrapped up during Raw's premiere on Netflix, however, as Dwayne Johnson heaped praise on Cody Rhodes and joked about saying hello to Mama Rhodes before the two men embraced. The Rock and Cody were then shown on Instagram Live being chummy and drinking alcohol together. A match with Roman Reigns also wasn't set up on Raw, as The Rock instead acknowledged Reigns as his tribal chief and placed the Ula Fala over Reigns' head following Roman's victory against Solo Sikoa. After a fan asked why The Rock wrapped up his program with Cody Rhodes, Ibo of Wrestle Purist noted that The Rock doesn't know when he's going to be wrestling next. Quote, "The Rock has absolutely no clue when he will wrestle again," Ibo tweeted. Now, The Rock, of course, did address why people were upset about him being nice to Cody Rhodes on NXT last night. We covered that in today's earlier video. Be sure to check that out. Now, this was a big story coming out of New Japan Pro Wrestling over the weekend, and that is that Chris Charlton has been suspended by New Japan Pro Wrestling. Dave Meltzer reported a few days ago that New Japan Pro Wrestling commentator Chris Charlton was taking an indefinite hiatus after comments made about AEW and its president, owner, and also CEO Tony Khan. Among them was calling Tony Khan a, quote, money mark, and criticizing AEW signing Okada, Will Ospreay, and Switchblade Jay White and their use since signing with the company. Fightful Select later reported that they learned that it isn't a hiatus, and Charlton was actually suspended for 2 months. There were people on both sides of the coin backstage praising him, but others that thought the comments were out of line. New Japan's claim is that AEW and Tony Khan did not have input on the suspension, but Fightful have heard AEW was not happy about the comments. Now, more details have come from Dave Meltzer, and during a recent edition of Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer confirmed that he will likely be back in time for the New Japan Cup in March, but is very lucky that he's coming back at all. Quote, "I know there's a lot of people in wrestling who, within wrestling, said like if they were making the call, he would be fired," Meltzer said. "I definitely heard that nobody wanted to say anything publicly about it. Privately, man, that's all I heard all day was this." During Kenny Omega's match with Gabe Kidd, a match that had an interpromotional rivalry weaved into the story, Charlton claimed that AEW president Tony Khan was a money mark, said the Continental Classic wasn't on the level of the G1 Climax, and that all AEW has done is take talent and done nothing that they haven't already achieved in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Quote, "You can't be using those podcaster grifter terms," Meltzer said. "That is just like such terrible judgment." Meltzer later confirmed that Takagi Kidani, the director of New Japan's parent company Bushiroad, was furious at the English commentary, but mostly Charlton, for trashing their business partners, when in reality there is no rivalry between the two companies and they both enjoy working together. Quote, "I don't think either Kidani or Tony Khan is happy that people in both companies have taken sides and made this issue very big, and I don't think they want that," Meltzer guessed. Now, speaking of AEW, we've got the ratings for Saturday's episode of Collision, and now, of course, things are a little bit different when it comes to reporting this kind of information. Of course, it's a whole new world for professional wrestling, with WWE now airing Raw on Netflix and AEW simulcasting both Dynamite and Collision on TBS and Max and TNT and Max, respectively. As such, it's a whole new world when it comes to ratings in professional wrestling, as it remains to be seen how much the effect of the move to streaming will have on each show, and if it will affect the overall numbers much. And those questions will remain even after the unveiling of ratings for Collision's first simulcast episode this past weekend. Programming Insider reports that Collision drew 345,000 total viewers and a 0.09 rating in the coveted 18 to 49 demographic on TNT. Notably missing is any data regarding the viewership AEW drew on Max, which has yet to be made available, a similar theme to Dynamite's ratings this past Wednesday. It remains unclear when or if viewership data for AEW on Max will ever be made available. With an already incomplete picture on viewership, this week's Collision ratings are also wonky compared to their last episode on December 21st. Both numbers were down, with total viewership down 46% from 635,000, while the 1849 fell 55% from a 0.20. While both drops seem significant, it should be noted in the previous Collision's numbers that they were inflated, thanks to having a strong lead-in from a college football playoff game. Not only did Collision lack that leading this week, but also face NFL competition, going against the Cincinnati Bengals-Pittsburgh Steelers game. Collision's first simulcast was bookended by two big matches, beginning with Daniel Garcia successfully defending the TNT Championship against Mark Briscoe. Meanwhile, the show was headlined by Rated FTR, with Cope, Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood defeating Chris Jericho, Big Bill and Brian Keith of the Learning Tree. Now, we spoke about Wrestle Dynasty, and if you wondered why maybe it didn't get the promotion from AEW that you expected, well, there is a reason behind that. Now, several AEW stars packed their bags for the transatlantic flight to Japan for New Japan's massive two-night Tokyo Dome event, Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty. Since its inception, AEW has been keen to send its stars to represent the brand before Japanese audiences, with some even bringing New Japan Gold back to the States with them. But there was a curious lack of marketing for Wrestle Kingdom / Wrestle Dynasty on AEW's end, noteworthy because Kenny Omega, one of their biggest stars, returned to action after more than a year. On Wrestling Observer Radio, wrestling journalist Dave Meltzer said the reason for the lack of build-up boiled down to AEW's new agreement with Warner Bros. Discovery and Max, its new home for streaming. Meltzer speculated that WBD discouraged the promotion because it could potentially drive traffic to outside streaming services like New Japan World or Triller TV. Quote, "There was a reason, but it was really weird," Meltzer said of AEW's muted approach, especially because it started literally the moment the Collision ended. While it may have made sense on WBD's end, it still felt unusual for AEW to not promote Kenny Omega's big return. Though his comeback received occasional mentions, Omega's star power seemed to merit a stronger marketing push. Meltzer suggested Wrestle Dynasty / Kingdom may get more of a mention in the aftermath, of course, since the Young Bucks won the IWGP Tag Team Championships in a three-way match. However, there's no clear timetable for Omega and the Bucks to return to AEW television. Of course, Omega is going to be returning on this week's episode tonight on Dynamite, but as far as the Bucks, we just don't know. Now, a bit of an update here when it comes to the Vince McMahon lawsuit. Janelle Grant's lawsuit has now been switched to a new judge. An order of transfer was submitted to the United States District Court for the District of Connecticut on January 7th, and District Judge Sarah F. Russell will serve as the judge for all further proceedings. Judge Jeffrey A. Mayer was previously the judge on the case. Sarah French Russell was nominated by President Joe Biden to serve as a district judge on the United States District Court for the District of Connecticut in October 2023. She was then renominated in January 2024 and was finally sworn in on December 20, 2024. Prior to being sworn in, Russell was a law professor and a director of the Civil Justice Clinic at the Quinnipiac University School of Law. Janelle Grant filed a lawsuit against Vince McMahon, WWE, and John Laurinaitis in January of 2024. Vince McMahon has been accused of sex trafficking, sexual assault, and physical and emotional abuse, while it has been alleged that WWE tried to cover up the allegations against McMahon. John Laurinaitis has also been accused of sexual assault. The case was paused from June to December 2024, but has since resumed. All three defendants have refiled motions to compel arbitration, arguing that a clause in Grant's non-disclosure agreement signed with McMahon in January 2022 states that any disagreements should be resolved in arbitration. Grant claimed in her initial lawsuit in January of last year that the NDA was unenforceable, citing the Speak Out Act and the Victims of Trafficking and Violence Protection Act of 2000. Grant is set to amend her lawsuit against McMahon, Laurinaitis, and WWE, and the amendments are expected to be filed on January 15, 2025. Beyond the civil case, federal prosecutors for the Southern District of New York are still carrying out a criminal investigation into allegations of sex trafficking and sexual misconduct against Vince McMahon dating all the way back to the 1980s. Now, of course, Monday night we found out that Penta is indeed on his way to WWE, and whilst we know the former AEW star will make his debut on the January 13th edition of Raw, many expected him to appear on the January 6th Netflix debut of the show. It wasn't just fans who expected the Lucha Brother to be on the show, with a new report from Fightful Select suggesting that many talents backstage in WWE expected the former TNA World Champion on the show as well. Vignettes for Penta have aired across WWE television for the past several weeks, with Penta having been expected to join WWE for months, with reports in late spring, early summer of 2024 suggesting that he would make the jump to WWE following the expiration of his AEW deal. Penta's brother Rey Fenix is also expected to join the company, but will have to wait out after AEW added injury time to his deal. During the January 6th edition of Raw, a backstage segment between Chad Gable and General Manager Adam Pearce saw Pearce set Gable up for a match with a yet-to-be-announced opponent on January 13th, where they expected that Penta will indeed be the one to face Gable. Now, speaking of people that was expected to be on the show, of course, Raw on Netflix kicked off with a huge show filled with legends, but it seems there's a reason Stone Cold Steve Austin wasn't there. John Cena kicked off his farewell tour on Raw as he announced that not only was he entering the Royal Rumble, but he was going to win the whole thing to claim a title shot at WrestleMania. Cena's old rival, The Rock, was on hand to acknowledge the undisputed tribal chief after Roman Reigns battled Solo Sikoa. The Undertaker even made a shock appearance to endorse a new champion after a huge title change took place on the show, before CM Punk defeated Seth Rollins in the main event to defeat his hated rival. Of course, there was also an appearance from Hulk Hogan that we spoke about earlier on. But Dr. Chris Featherstone reported that Stone Cold Steve Austin had been in talks with WWE about an appearance, but that it was scrapped. It was noted that talks between the two parties fell apart and he couldn't make it. It remains to be seen if or when Stone Cold Steve Austin will make another appearance for the company. Steve Austin has previously noted that he'd be happy to appear at WrestleMania 41, given that it's happening in the state where he now lives, but cautioned that it would have to make sense. Now, Triple H raised some eyebrows when it came to the runtime of SmackDown recently, because Friday Night SmackDown won't be a 3-hour show on a permanent basis. WWE SmackDown moved to 3 hours from the January 3rd episode, the first of 2025 for WWE's Blue brand. WWE Chief Content Officer Paul Triple H Levesque has since revealed on the Pat McAfee show, however, that SmackDown is only a 3-hour show for right now, and it will switch back to 2 hours at a later date. Triple H did not announce when SmackDown would be a 2-hour series again, but Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics has reported that the current plan is for SmackDown to revert back to 2 hours beginning in June. Quote, Levesque didn't specify the timing here. I've been informed that SmackDown is planned to return to a 2-hour format beginning in June. Why SmackDown is 3 hours temporarily has not been confirmed by WWE. Dave Meltzer noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that USA Network, WWE SmackDown's TV partner in the United States, are planning to debut a new show and wanted SmackDown to serve as the lead-in for the program. Quote, I think the deal is that USA has a program that they want to debut and use SmackDown as the lead-in because SmackDown is a fantastic lead-in to debut a new program. The new program is debuting in a couple of months, Meltzer said. Of course, SmackDown will air on Netflix across much of the globe, including in the United Kingdom from January 10th, that being this coming Friday. Now, going back to Netflix and going back to the premiere episode of Monday Night Raw, of course, we saw a title change on the show, and now we possibly know a reason as to why. On the January 6th Netflix premiere of Raw, Rhea Ripley defeated Liv Morgan to win the Women's World Championship. Post-match, Ripley shared a moment in the entranceway with WWE Hall of Famer The Undertaker. On the latest edition of a live Q&A on Sportskeeda's Backstage Pass, WrestleVotes discussed the title change from Liv Morgan to Rhea Ripley on Raw on Netflix. He said, quote, I think it becomes a numbers thing as we get closer to WrestleMania. 2 world title matches for the women equals probably 4 participants. They wanted Rhea, obviously, to be one of those. I think probably Becky and Charlotte's going to be 2 and 3, and I don't think they had to take a spot there for Liv, so they decided to take the title away from her. Now, Corey Graves, he's back in the place that he used to call home. The announce desks have seen quite a few changes in the last few months in WWE. Joe Tessitore joined the company as Raw lead announcer, but with Monday Night Raw now starting its multi-billion-dollar deal with Netflix, Michael Cole and Pat McAfee have taken over duties on WWE's flagship show. Joe Tessitore has joined Wade Barrett and Corey Graves on SmackDown, but with Triple H's WWE seemingly preferring 2 announcer teams rather than 3, could more changes be on the way? At NXT's New Year's Eve, Corey Graves returned to the brand where he made his name as he joined Vic Joseph and Booker T on commentary. Graves was part of SmackDown's commentary team on January 3rd, so it remains to be seen if he'll be pulling double duty or if his blue brand days are now behind him. It was a big show for Graves to make his return, however, as we saw several title changes and The Rock's first appearance on NXT. And finally, Rob Van Dam has provided details on his status with AEW. Wrestling fans last saw WWE Hall of Famer Rob Van Dam for the November 6, 2024 episode of NXT that took place in the old ECW arena. But RVD is in a unique position where he claims to be able to appear on WWE television while still being able to work for other major companies. One company in particular is AEW, a company that RVD made a number of appearances for in 2023 and 2024. His most recent televised match took place in AEW, but given his relationship with WWE, can he still work for AEW? On his one-of-a-kind podcast, RVD said there is no reason he knows of as to why he couldn't work for AEW again. He said, quote, "Can I still wrestle in AEW? As far as I know, there's no reason that I know of that I can't. So, if there is a reason, then I don't know about it. I don't know that it would be the best move for me right now, but at the same time, money talks, and that's a great motivator when it comes to going to work," RVD explained. Now, if RVD was going to go back to AEW for a match or two, he has someone already in mind that he would like to face, that being former AEW World Trios champion Malachi Black. Quote, "I really like that dude's style and his vibe. I like the way that he stands out as being different, I'm a big fan of that, so I don't know. If I didn't know any better, I would think he might have been inspired by RVD at one point, so proud of him without even knowing him. It'd be awesome to work with him." But there you go, guys. Latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right-hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across the video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right-hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.